welcome back to the channel. My name is Ian Bennett, and this is Ian the Tech Bear. What I'm going to be talking about today is I'm going to be talking about driver assistance systems, specifically on my 2020 BMW X5. This has Driver Assistant Professional. What that does is it has lane keep assist, sort of traffic aware cruise control, so it keeps distance based on traffic, and it will also auto park. I don't use that functionality often, and it's kind of surprising because that's actually why I bought that particular package, because I actually prefer smaller vehicles. I don't like bigger vehicles, although I actually adore this one, how nimble it is, and how awesome it's been as a car over the past 4 years. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a drive, and I'm going to talk to you about how it works, and a little bit of my philosophy on driver assistance systems, and also how this works, to kind of demystify it a little bit. Let's get started. So I've just started the car. Yeah, I just had the music system. Hopefully that doesn't give me a knock on YouTube. But yeah, turned it on, and this car, by the way, has the most ridiculous gear shift ever. I would never have spec'd it out this way. I think I would have caught my eye, but yeah. So yeah, this was a really great deal when I bought it. So well, let's get started. So I'm gonna shift into drive, and yeah, we got the windscreen washer. Windscreen cleared, and here we go. So this system is really neat. What it will do is it will recognize the road. It will keep me in lanes, especially if there are lines on the road or a vehicle in front of me, and really help with safety and driving. I'm a really good driver, but sometimes it's nice to have that cruise control system to help relax you. And having come from a Mini Cooper that was gear shift, so stick shift or manual, and such, it was a blessing having this sort of auto drive type system. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a loop on the highways here in Toronto. We're going to go south on the 427. We'll go east on the QEW, or the Gardiner Expressway. And then I think we'll go north on the 427 and then across on the 401. So really the big loop. Because what I want to do is I want to be able to demonstrate a lot of the features of this vehicle around the driver assistance systems. What's really cool is this car will drive itself in stop and go traffic. And it was actually that which really helped relax me while driving. If you've driven a manual in Toronto traffic, you'll know what a nightmare that is, because Toronto traffic is horrible. It's within the top 3 worst in the world, as I understand it, which is kind of surprising at one degree, maybe not surprising, but I digress. The other thing this car will do is, while on the highway, it will automatically change lanes. Now, I used to think that was probably a bit of a gimmick, but I actually don't think it is. I don't know. I actually like being in control when driving, but I will use cruise control, I will use the driver assistance systems, and I will let the car change lanes. Partially because I am a geek, I like cool tech stuff. Yeah, so one of the challenges I find driving on highways in the city is people will not move over or let you in when entering the highway. And I almost feel like sometimes it's people giving attitude to BMW drivers. You know, there are a bunch of idiots on the road who do happen to drive BMWs who don't use their turn signals and stuff like that, but I'm not one of them. I actually use my turn signals. So, okay, normally when I'm driving, I'd have turned on cruise control by now, but I'm going to be very explicit on when I turn it on. So I press this button and it turns on. Now there are two versions I can use. One is assisted driving, which is what I'm going to be demonstrating, and then the other is literally the essentially traffic-aware cruise control. It just simply keeps distance. On this car, it's actually controlled by the mode button. So right now it's just distance control, and I can actually specify the number of car lengths. Right now I've got 2 cars, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can control that. In different cars, it is slightly different how it works. And idiot behind me, not giving me the space to move in. And that GMC Canyon. Alright, system's back on. I keep on hitting this, but I really should be hitting the set button. Okay, so system's back on. I can control the maximum speed by this rocker here. So right now I am actually doing, well, dropping down to 87 kilometers an hour and holding, but the maximum it says is at 100 kilometers per hour. I see that in my heads-up display. It also shows me the traffic speed, sorry, not the traffic speed, but the actual speed limit through the cameras. So there's a camera here, one at the front of the vehicle, and cameras all around the vehicle that recognize speed signs. So you always know what speed you're doing. And the recognition on that functionality is really good. So I'm going to increase the spacing between me and the car up front. And let's switch lanes. There we go, set back to 102 kilometers an hour. I have found this car is actually 2 kilometers under what it actually reports. So another bit of fun with Toronto traffic are people who change lanes when they shouldn't. It's like, oh gosh, I should be paying attention to the road and where I should be going. So, all right. I'm gonna wait for this car coming up, and actually I'm gonna move back into assisted driving. It was actually in distance control. Okay, so I'm back in assisted driving. I have, what I see on my heads-up display are 2 green lines on the right-hand side, and what that says is it recognizes the road, it recognizes my place in the lane, and it's all good. It's in control. So I could keep my hands off the wheel, but what's going to happen is BMW is going to alert and start flashing actually 2 lights here. They'll flash initially yellow and then it'll flash red to say that, hey, get back in control, or I'm going to turn off, and you're not going to like that. All right, let's change lanes. So it's as simple as doing a soft down, not the full hard down, in this vehicle to actually change lanes. It did it all by itself. I was not in control of the steering wheel. Well, okay, let's talk a little bit about philosophy. So driver assistance systems, you always want to be in control of the vehicle. For all those people who did a stupid, became a Darwin Award winner with a Tesla, I would never trust at this point a driver assistance system, whether it's Tesla Autopilot or Driver Assistant Professional from BMW. I would never trust it to be in control. Those systems run off AI typically. While they are very good, they are not perfect. And a lot goes into learning systems, a lot goes into learning, machine learning specifically, etc. And it's not perfect. I mean, look at the number of times you've possibly asked an AI to create an image and it's created something really funny. That's its interpretation. Okay, so again, while AI and machine learning is really cool, it is by no means perfect. Okay, I'm coming up to a slowdown, and I am letting the car slow down. And if you notice, I had increased the distance to 4. So when I'm going sort of faster and I see a slowdown and it might come up very quickly, I increase that distance. I also prepare my foot to hit the brake and take over control, just because of whatever. Now, you've seen this system pop up, and it says Assisted Driving Plus, it's ready to turn on. I hit the mode button, and there we go. It is now completely driving itself. This is the one time I will completely take my hands off the steering wheel and let the car drive. So right now I'm below 46, is now dropping because we're slowing down. This system is really good, and I trust it in lower traffic. But again, talking about that whole paying attention thing, I mean, just notice I've decided to keep one hand on the steering wheel. I do that out of habit. It's not because I don't necessarily trust the system. It's some of it's habit, some of it's just, you know, if I have to take over control, and there have been times where it's not alerted me, it's just gone red and said, hey, I need help. And it takes over. You'll see this truck is moving lanes. Again, I'm kind of touching the steering wheel to make sure, like, if I have to take over, I can take over quickly. And it did a little bit of harder braking, but it recognized the truck moving lanes and started to move back. So 4 car lengths according to the system. Okay. This helps with me being relaxed. I can let the car drive while I am, you know, paying attention to the mirrors. So 2 on the sides, 1 obviously up there. Checking my blind spots occasionally. In this mode, if I were to take my eyes off the road and focus on the screen, focus on the camera, and there we go, we're now above 60 kilometers an hour, and just alert me, hey, take over please, or at least hold on to the steering wheel, let me drive, but hold on to the steering wheel. Anyway, there's a camera above the cockpit display, and actually it's an infrared camera, so it actually will see in the dark, etc. And what it's doing is it's monitoring my face, it's monitoring my eyes. So if I'm taking my face and eyes off of, you know, being forward, etc., it will actually alert me and say, pay attention to the road, etc. So it's a really good system that way. And again, you know, in this particular car, I can just be touching the steering wheel. It sometimes doesn't recognize me, but that's just a matter of grabbing here or sort of moving the steering wheel a little bit. Again, let me demonstrate. You know, if I take my hands completely off the wheel, you can see it's turning, and there we go. There are the flashing yellow lights. I'm not going to let it go to red. But there we go. Touch the steering wheel, and it recognizes that, yep, driver's in control, driver's, you know, I'm a co-pilot, essentially. Or is the car the co-pilot? Again, you always have to be in control of the vehicle. You can't be texting on your phone while it drives and not paying attention. I wouldn't do that. So let's change lanes again. So I'm driving in downtown Toronto, and I've been talking a fair bit about computers and the fact that cars these days are essentially rolling computers. So this car has a number of buttons that allow me to select the driving mode. I have Eco Pro. Oh, am I covered? There we go. There's Sport, and then I can bring it down to Eco Pro, which it actually changes the color display and you know, some stuff like that. And then there's Adaptive Drive, which is sort of a combination of all these modes. It'll be efficient, but if I need the power, it will give me the power that I need and jump into sport mode, etc. All of this controls the ECU in the car. So, you know, if I'm in Eco Pro mode, you know, it's going to sort of lumber a bit, etc. If I go into sport mode, I've got that power right away, and sort of just sort of saw that. And I also get the growls with it. Here's the funny thing about computers, cars, etc. Some of you, I've alluded to in the introduction of Iain the Tech Bear, of an educational computer in Ontario called the Icon. And the Icon ran an operating system called QNX from QNX Software Systems. So QNX was very sort of Unix-like, almost like Linux, etc. The really cool thing about that company was something that they created called the neutrino kernel. And the neutrino kernel was a real-time kernel. So it implemented, essentially you could implement a real-time operating system. And it was really cool. BlackBerry bought QNX Software Systems, and essentially today, almost every car, other than Tesla and maybe some others, essentially runs some form of QNX. So this system here from BMW is completely run by QNX. One of the products that BlackBerry offers with QNX is essentially a sound system, a sound generator. And what they're able to do is they're able to pump sounds into the cabin of the car, and I think also to a degree on the outside of the car. When I put this car into sport mode, the car sounds throatier, if you will. It's got a nice rumble, etc. I don't know if you can hear that, but you can hear it as I increase the speed on the car, etc. That's all QNX generated. That's not the engine. If this car did not have that, you would hear very little from the actual engine. You'd hear a lot from the road. You would hear an engine sound. You know, and BMW engines are awesome that way. However, it would be a very different driving experience. Let's go back into Eco Pro mode. And here we are getting onto the Don Valley parking lot, also known as the Don Valley Parkway. And So all this talk about EVs, currently not in an EV, but all this talk about EVs and people being passionate about their vehicles, a lot of people have no clue the degree of which computers run cars. And so that sound, it's really funny. It's great. I love that sound in this vehicle, but it's not what you think it actually is. And again, with all these driving modes on this particular vehicle, it's all computer controlled of the engine so that it can give you the performance or the type of drive that you actually want. Things like being able to modify how high up or low the vehicle is for off-roading. You can actually control it with a switch, and it's all computer controlled. In fact, there's a button. Yeah, there's a button in the boot that allows you to adjust the height of the car so that when you're taking something out, you can actually bring it down or leave it up. So that's Driver Assistant Professional. It's really straightforward. I really like this system. It's pretty no nonsense. It's very powerful. It recognizes the road beautifully. It recognizes curves. It occasionally has some challenges, but with successive software updates of this car, I've seen it improve. And as BMW, and I do allow BMW to collect data from my car on how the drive is, you have control of those privacy settings. So it actually has learned how to handle different parts of the road. Here's a good example, HOV lanes. So when I used to drive on the HOV lanes when I had a second person or more with me, the car would recenter at the exit part and then recenter with the actual main lane. And then it would sometimes lose track of the road and actually turn off the system saying, hey, I don't know what to do. And I'd have to take over, re-engage the system, and then it would continue. It no longer does that because it's learned how to drive in those areas, which is kind of nice. I also really like the radar-based cruise control systems, or traffic-aware cruise control. Way back in the day, having to pay attention to speed up, speed down, manually, etc. I mean, that was fun. I have that in my Prius, and that was really quite cool for the time. You know, my first time having cruise control, etc. But this really takes it to the next level. So, and they're all very good. I mean, I'm not sure a lot of people think about what goes into such a system for it to recognize the car in front of you, measure the distance, and take action from that. You know, and the other cool thing about the system is that the safety systems in this car uses radar controls, or radars, I should say, to recognize whether there's potential for an accident coming up. If I'm too close, then it actually draws a red car, flashes a red car on my heads-up display and on the dashboard as well, to alert me and say, hey, you know, something's going to happen if you're not careful. And also, same with the side impact. It does something similar. It displays sort of the side version of the car, and it says, you know, alert. I've had more false alarms than anything. You know, I'd much rather have false alarm than no alarm at all. But yeah, it makes for a much more relaxed and pleasant drive. It helps with being relaxed. I would say it helps with aggression on the road for sure. If I were dealing with the traffic in the other lanes, which right now is pretty backed up, again, Don Valley parking lot. This is actually one of my favorite drives in the city, especially going the opposite way when you see the view of Toronto. And Scott and I actually used to live in this area. It's such a beautiful area. And now just waiting for assisted driving plus. There we go. And there we go. The other reason why I keep vigilant whenever I've got one of the driver assistance systems, especially the autonomous driving system in either car on, is especially when people are changing lanes in front of me and behind me. In front of me, just make sure they have enough room and the car's not speeding up because it thinks that the space is empty. But also in behind me, because if someone suddenly slams on the brakes in front of me and this car slows down, all of a sudden I might get rear-ended. So that is consideration for when using one of these systems. So, and the importance of, keeping vigilant, keeping your eyes on the road and stuff. So I'm back home. It's been an interesting tech day because pretty much all my tech's been kind of failing me a little bit with regards to making these videos today. So the cameras both went down because of overheating during the drive, but I pretty much covered everything that I really wanted to. So I'm kind of learning the GoPro ecosystem here. So, but yeah, driver assistance systems are meant to be exactly that. They are driver assistance systems. They aren't, I'll take over driving for you, etc., etc. You're in control. You have to be the one to keep an eye on, the road, what's happening around you, what's happening, surrounding your vehicle, etc. You are the one in control. So it's not so much don't trust the systems, but don't trust the systems. You know what I mean, right? So there you go. Have a great day and enjoy driving. Actually, it's funny. I think about driving in Toronto. Driving in the GTA used to really be a joy, but with all the sort of traffic backups and how busy the roads are and too many vehicles on the road, it is less enjoyable than it is. These driver assistance systems certainly help, certainly with the stop and go traffic and sort of the challenges. And, these systems can also certainly help you with stupid drivers. I've heard some interesting stories of deer and driver assistance system helping to stop the vehicle from driving and stuff like that. So, so there you go. All right. Enjoy.